We are a little late. We were doing some personal evaluation behind the scenes here, but we are
Yeah.
here. The universes, where we had 6 universes come together now. This show
It's approaching 7, actually.
is approaching 7.
Yeah.
The great, the one and only, the Mark Puttenvink, Coach Puttenvink. How are you doing there, brother?
I'm doing good.
I keep forgetting that. I haven't mentioned this in a while now. Your company is called Patriot Training Systems, correct?
Yeah.
If everybody wants to get trained with the great Mark Puttenvink. We were talking I didn't realize this. Ramsey, what's his first name? Dave Ramsey? Jim Ramsey.
Yeah.
Trainer for 30-year trainer with the New York Rangers, actually got let go on last week.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
It's a surprising move because, he's been there 30 years. He's known as the best in the business.
Right.
And he's been an Olympian 2 to 3 times. I lost track.
Yeah.
And, I know that the guys that played from, when I was there, they still hold him in really high regard.
Yeah.
And he deserves it because he was the best. So something's going on there.
For a trainer to stay in one team for 30 years, that's pretty incredible. Yeah.
Anybody to stay with one team for 30 years. Yeah,
totally. How are you doing? How's your weekend?
Good. Yeah. Just the usual train some kids.
Good. So my youngest son, Cody, and his fantastic girlfriend, Val, invited me to lunch up in Westport at a barbecue place.
It's nice town.
Something Walrus or something. So, this is a good and bad story, but I've been eating so clean. I'm sure you're the same way. The barbecue, I thought I was going to throw up from eating the barbecue, all the fat and sugar and everything in it. And it's like, it was fantastic food, great food and everything. But
sugar makes everything taste good.
I had to, I won't get too graphic. So it was on a Saturday afternoon. We went, weather was terrible. I had to go up 95 and then back down 95 again. The traffic was a nightmare.
Oh, it's awful.
I got to the point where I said, I got to pull off to the side of the road. I got to go into one of the service centers and sit down for a little bit because I had, man.
Yeah, you had a little bit of a reaction.
I'm thinking a couple times it's going to be close one here.
You're really gripping that steering wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Really tight.
Then I started saying, don't think about it, Tom. Deep, breathe that, breathe deep, breathe deep. So I'm leaving the parking lot there at the service center. I want your take on this. The guy pulls up to me up beside me in a minivan. And he motions me to roll down the window. He's on the passenger side. He says, I am from Dubai. And he says, he rolls down the back window, shows me his family in the car and everything like that. He says, I will give you my ring. I need money.
What?
I know. He said he needed money for gas. And I'm thinking, and he's pulling off the ring and everything. I'm thinking, what am I going to do with the ring? Yeah. I know.
So here's my, and I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way, but Dubai is known as the wealthiest place on the planet you could ever live.
Yeah, and why would he tell me he's from Dubai anyways? Like, what's?
And then secondly, someone from Dubai being out of gas is kind of ironic.
I know, let's get more gas than anybody on the planet.
So I'm not quite buying this story from.
I know. I'm thinking
that's what you know.
My first inclination. Yeah. See, I have no problem with if I'm in the city and a homeless person comes up to me and they want money. I say, listen, I won't give you money. I'll go buy you a sandwich or something like that. No problem doing that kind of stuff. But the guy. He's driving around saying he's got no money for gas and showing me his family and everything.
Yeah. We were in Chicago to see my son a while back. And Beth and I were walking around this beautiful day. And this guy came up to me because I was wearing a Muhammad Ali t-shirt, the one where he's standing over Joe Louis. It's a very iconic famous picture. Yeah. And my buddy Rick sent it to me from California. So this homeless guy rolls up on me and he starts talking boxing. And he knew his business. Like he knew all the fighters back in the day and whatever. And then, of course, the question comes up. I said, listen, there's McDonald's right there. I'm going to go get you something to eat. No. I said, bro, I know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And, that's pretty much. But that's, the Dubai, the family in the back. And I said, well, listen.
I know. I was going to say. It's like this person says, okay, what's $20 to you, Tom? Give the guys $20. And I said, I don't want to get screwed around. There's so many stuff. Like we were talking before the show, and we're both very positive people. There's some odd stuff going on. People need to be very careful on the roads nowadays driving. Man, it's a nightmare out there. It's getting worse and worse.
There's a theory circulating around. I'm starting to believe it actually. Right. So CERN, which was the particle accelerator they built in France, a very famous one.
Right.
And it's, I think, 53 miles in diameter.
Right.
So what they do is they send a proton that way, and it builds up through magnets to such a high velocity. When they crash, they're hoping to find exactly evidence of the Higgs boson is what they look for. It's this really subatomic particle.
Right.
So there was fear that when they fired that thing out, it would create a black hole. Seriously. But some physicists feared that. And it would suck us right into it. Check this out, because I'm the dude with the universes,
Right. Right.
into a parallel universe. And I'm beginning to wonder if that really happened, because we look around, up is up is down, down is up, good is bad, bad is good. Nothing makes sense right now.
So
Nothing.
you think that these
We got sucked right through it.
and that would happen in an instant, right? We wouldn't even know that
We
happened.
wouldn't even know it. No.
Right. So you're really like some kind of cyclops or something like that. Like
I could.
you could be.
Yeah.
You could
Well,
be.
what I'm really thinking of, we won't go there. If we get into this parallel universe, so maybe the Jets will win the bowl this year.
There you
That's what
go.
I'm hoping.
Right, and the Mets,
So,
will win.
Mets. So there's some good things.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they got Aaron Rodgers, so yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we were talking before the show. Let's say like we're in a relationship, and somebody you're just starting a relationship, and somebody does something that, like you say to yourself, I don't really like. Not that it's all that bad, but there's certain red flags for me. There's certain things I want in a relationship or don't want in a relationship. And you were discussing how the brain works, the frontal lobe and everything. Do that
Frontal
again.
cortex. So the frontal cortex is your executive thinking, and it's very slow, very laborious. It tries to weigh every possibility and make a decision based upon that. It's also very forgiving. So when you're in relationships with either people or business people or whatever the case may be, we always tend to give the benefit of the doubt, and that's your frontal cortex. As it relates to relationships in particular, it's trying to figure out a way to make something that bothers you about a person either go away in your own mind or work. The problem is it doesn't. People are the way they are; they're not going to change. So decision making again. So you have to create the relationship you want to have with that person. If it's a romantic, long-term relationship you're looking for, and there's some signs there immediately that won't work for you, they're not going to change. Right. But we often still go ahead with and I'm guilty of it. We've all done it. We've got relationships we knew we're going to be bad from the beginning, but maybe I'll change or she'll change. Right. No, they don't change.
Right. So I was out of the agent business. I think it was out of the agent business. And remember the old lawyer Joe Tacopina? He's famous for okay. Yeah. So I met Joe up we were at a hockey rink someplace, and he wanted to get into the agent business. So we were going to partner up and get into business together. Well, he had what he called Tacopino time. And that was, he'd just show up whenever he wanted to for meetings and everything. And now I'm the guy that, if you're on time, you're late. So we were at a meeting, had a meeting lined up with this, I think he was a former Marine or something too, or excuse me, a Marine, because they call themselves Marines all the time, right? They don't call themselves former Marines.
Yeah.
So we went like for 2 hours, and it got to the point where it was embarrassing. And I was sitting there thinking, there's got to be an excuse or this. Like, no, he already told me he has Tacopino time. Here he's doing it to me. Like he's trying to show that he's the big wheel.
He told you.
Right. Yeah. But again, I let it slide. But then it took until he finally did it to me for me to realize this is not going to work.
So I guess in that situation, again, Monday morning quarterbacking is always a lot easier. But when he said it, maybe would have been a good time to say, hey, that's not going to work for me.
Right. Yep.
And then maybe you could have negotiated an agreement where it will work on both ends. But initially, if you're going, it ain't going to work, and then it didn't work, it's like, well, kind of knew that going. And that's your frontal cortex. When he told you that, you knew, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But you kind of went, well, hopefully, your mind's saying, hopefully he won't do it. He's just saying that.
Right.
But he did it. He did it.
I know.
And, this is true, and I was mentioning to you also in teaching survival skills, because when we see, which is a potential threat, our frontal cortex starts to, again, kind of analyze, and the guy coming at me with a bat, maybe he's not a bad guy. He just wants to play a pickup game of softball. And next thing you know, you're laying on the ground smashed.
Right.
So, it's a little different, but you have to, in some ways, the same thing. You gotta read the situation and kind of use the wild part of your brain to have a reaction to it and react that way.
So in the Tacopino case, what I should have done right away when he said that. But here's the thing, right? It's like you have to kind of process it. I mean, that's the
right. So, but again, you have a gut reaction. Everybody has a gut reaction to things that are said immediately. Right. You either agree with it, disagree with it, or you're in the middle. So initially. So when he said, "Hey, listen, man, I got my own Tacopino time. I show up when I show up," you knew instantly that's not going to work.
Right. But then I let it. But I didn't say anything about it.
But that's your frontal cortex. That's your frontal cortex slowing everything down. Wait a minute, Tom. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe you're the wrong guy because you're showing up on time. Maybe that's not the way this world works anymore. But so that's what happens. Yeah.
That is the thing, right? It's like you don't want to be that stubborn jerk that says, "Well, I got a code that I live by,"
Right.
but at the same time, we do have a code we live by, right? You have your own code.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And again, that's the time when, again, we're all guilty of it. I continue to do it probably, but that's the time we want to just say when he said that is can we talk about that? For me, I'm a really punctual guy and I kind of feel different. So maybe we could work out something that's going to work for both of us.
Right.
Or then you just say, it's not going to work.
Dude, that is the thing that do we all go through this then that like for me, then I have that, I doubt myself sometimes. I doubt my thought process.
That's your frontal cortex.
Right. So I'm not really doubting myself. I'm confident in who I am. I just have like the frontal cortex, that's what you call it.
Yeah.
So it's gone to work now and it's analyzing.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, we need the frontal cortex, obviously, but we rely on it a little bit too much. So there's a book written by a man by the name of Gavin de Becker. It's called The Gift of Fear. And it has to do with primarily his proposition is that if you use fear, it'll save your life. So what he means is many times we have intuition. You always hear victims of a crime say, looking back upon it, I kind of, no, you knew then, you chose your frontal cortex was saying, I don't know, man, it might be, innocent, just a regular dude. And he lays out the case. It's a bestseller. Anybody who's in the executive protection business or just wants a, the law enforcement, they're familiar with this book, or most people should be. But anyhow, and he makes the point that disregarding intuition is like waking up in the middle of the night, your house is full of smoke, and then getting out of bed, walking over, open up the windows, and going back to bed.
Right. Right.
Something that's creating that smoke, but so.
So why can you train yourself to kind of bypass your frontal cortex and just
you can't bypass it, but I shouldn't say that. Yeah. So in the self-defense business or survival skill business, so what you do is you have to recognize the threat and have an immediate gross motor skill response, which comes from the wild part of your brain. In terms of relationships, no, you don't immediately go to your wild brain because we'd all be smashing each other in the head if we did.
Right.
So that's the frontal cortex is like a slows down the process so you don't act irrationally.
Okay, so when I'm younger, then I felt like now having this discussion, I didn't use my frontal cortex. It was just like if there was something going on, I just punched somebody in the head. Right? That was
you did because you did to a certain extent. I mean, you went straight to wild brain, but before it became ingrained in your wild brain, you said, okay, this is how I'm going to react. So just for instance, we were talking before, my phone's down today. So I go to a company, I won't mention the name, T-Mobile, whatever, they're horrible. And I'm sitting there with two guys at the table and I'm trying to figure out my phone problem, and it's going on like 30, 40 minutes. And they were doing some things that were making me a little bit uncomfortable. I won't get into the details.
Right.
But this is where my wild brain kind of takes over. Because now I'm thinking, I'm going to flip this table, and I'm going to flip this table on top of these two guys. I'm just going to start smashing them with elbows, fix the phone. Now, in reverse, my frontal cortex said, Mark.
All right, okay. So when I threw the ladder.
Yeah. So go over that story. I'm not familiar with the ladder throwing.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I live in this condominium complex, and they're out constantly doing work, fixing roofs, all like that. You understand that? Mm-hmm. So they were working late, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to check the ordinances, the town ordinances. So I checked that they can't work past 6 o'clock, right, to making all this noise.
Yeah.
It's about like 10, 12 small guys from other countries, and so I'm outside. It's a beautiful night. I'm trying to relax, and I'm thinking, okay, now it's like 6:05, and I'm thinking, okay. I said the frontal cortex is thinking, okay, Tom, settle down. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But then I said, no, it is a big deal. I'm not going to wild part. So now I go walking over there. Tried to reason with them at first, and now they start yapping at me. There's quite a few. So the ladder is leaning up against the wall, and I'm looking at the ladder. It's like I've got those two little men on my one in each shoulder, right? It's going, don't do it, Tom. Don't do it.
This is frontal cortex. This is wild brain.
Yeah. And the other one said, do it, Tom. Do it. Yeah. So the wild brain took over. I threw the ladder down the hill, and all of a sudden, they were all running for the trucks. The work had stopped, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. Then I started thinking, "Oh, geez, Tom, what if somebody had the camera out? Like when somebody's filming me throwing the ladder, no damage is done. Yeah, they don't work past 6 o'clock anymore. No. Well, the guy actually said, "Why doesn't anybody else care, but you care?" He kind of puzzled me with that one. I said, "I really don't care."
I would have said, "Well, you got to go ask them, but it's bothering me."
Yeah.
I can't speak for them. I can only speak for moi.
Oh God, funny.
Yeah, but I mean. It's what again. It's what all we it's good to understand this because it
Yeah.
can make your decision making a little better,
Right.
But look, there's times when the wild brain just overrides, and you
Yeah.
want that. Again, you want that. When that guy's
Right.
swinging on you, you better have an immediate response. You don't
Right.
sit there going, okay, so the arm's coming at a 37-degree angle.
Right.
It's about 5-mile-an-hour wind here. No, you gotta. So the wild, again, that's how it kind of.
That's, this is a really interesting conversation because, I'm really big on, well, you've helped me with this too, like looking back at my life, why am I the way I am with all these things, right? So I look back at some of the things I did when I was younger, like just those wild instincts,
Well, so I think another way for a hockey player or any athlete that involves skill, well, I shouldn't say that. Well, like anyhow, any athlete. So let's say Tom Laidlaw is really good at getting the puck to the net with a quick shovel shot.
Right.
But how many times did you practice that shovel shot? So when it comes on your stick and the situation is presented, it's a wild part of your brain. It just shovels that puck to the net looking for a redirect.
Why? Because you practice it so much that your brain is
it's in here. It's in the wild part of the brain. So in other words, if you were thinking with your frontal cortex and the pass came up the wall to you, you would say, okay, I'm going to take it on my forehand.
Right.
I'm going to draw it in a little bit get a little bit of center of gravity, lean on my. No, you just do it.
Right.
So there's no analyzing. Right.
Right.
You've been through it so many times.
Right.
Puck gets on your stick, you just know what to do. So that's another way to look at the difference between a frontal cortex. And in my case, all the years of boxing, in sparring, you see things coming and you react to them. You have a slip punch. And that's it. If you had to think about it and analyze it.
Totally.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And that's, what, I love this conversation. So that goes back to my junior coach in junior B. We're practicing our breakouts all the time. So he saw something in me. I was being lazy on a breakout. So I would go back for the puck. I kind of take my time, it's practice. There's nobody really on me. And he would yell at me. It seemed like he yelled at me the whole time. I didn't, but thinking back about it. But we practiced it so many times. That just became a staple in my game.
Sure.
Head on a swivel, going back. Where's the outlet pass? Where's that guy going to be? Is he on the hash marks? Is he up the middle? Go back, get the puck right away. Move that puck right away. And I did that so many times. Again, that was a big part of my game. And I thank him for that because he just forced me to do it. And I hated it. Like I would get sick I feel like I was going to get sick to my stomach when it was like, oh, here comes this Wednesday night. We're going to do breakouts again. And as soon as he said that, I'm going, oh, no. But,
well, those types of things that, I've spoken in the past about myelination. So you have an axon and a neuron and they communicate and you perform, muscle contracts and all that. But if it's done over and over and over and over, there's a protein from your brains called myelin, and it becomes, the term uses myelination, that process. And the thicker that connection gets, I mean, think about it. We don't think about walking, but when you're 8 months old, it's quite a process. But once you do it enough, the myelination's there, you never ever think about how do I walk again.
That's very cool. Man, you're a smart man. Jeez. You got stuff. Not spare time?
That's a lot of spare time.
Hold on. So our boy Ron Jameson, our veteran up in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, that's right. That guy was from up in your. That's right.
Yeah.
Michael Block, and he had a hole in one yesterday. I mean, he dunked it. It wasn't like it hit the green and rolled.
I heard this. I didn't watch it, but
it was great.
Was he like 46 years old or something like that?
Yeah, local pro. But you know what? He had a personality, right, Ron? He fit in with the camera. He fit in with the banter back and forth. It's pretty cool.
And I guess he was his son taped a bunch of people that were watching it, and they showed him. I guess he got all emotional after.
Yeah,
apparently.
Sure did. Yeah. Wow. It was quite a story over the weekend.
Do we play golf? I don't play golf.
Well,
do you play golf?
Yeah. So like probably 99.9% of people on the planet. I play golf. Am I a golfer? No, I'm horrible. Oh. Like I'll get a couple of holes together on, and then next thing I know, there it is. It's gone. But it's fun. But it's it'll make you humble real quick.
Yeah.
Unless you do it,
I just got no pleasure out of it whatsoever. Like I have no desire to play golf. I'm probably the only. Most hockey players are fantastic golfers too. But
yeah, you know who's really good? Hedberg.
Anders Hedberg.
Oh,
really?
Golfer. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I heard his health isn't too good right now. I haven't. Our boy Danny Erickson. Tom may have scored, but he was thinking about knocking out Picard. There's a good example.
That was wild brain. You saw what did he do? Cross check you? I forgot.
Butt into me.
Well, then your immediate reaction is just slam him. Right. There was no analyzing.
Yeah,
that's true. Straight to wild brain. Bang. Yeah,
that's true. That's right too. I'll never forget that feeling too. Yeah. And I watched the video and I think to myself, "Oh my god!" And my mother, I think I told you this. My mother and father were there. My poor mother was mortified.
So if you take it to the next level, so let's say you're a center and you're going for a draw. Now, I don't know how many times a year you play a team now. What's it? Maybe 4 to 6, depending. But so my point is, you only have 4 to 6 opportunities a year to take draws against Tom Laidlaw. Right. So I got to look for his kind of So that's the frontal cortex. I'm looking to see where he's putting his stake, how he hips, where the hips are facing, all that kind of stuff. But if you over a period of time, it's lay low. I know he likes to draw it this way, and then the wild brain will take over and you'll try to make a play. Yeah,
that's very cool. The wild brain. Wow, that's interesting the way you put that, because I think all the times now when I just snap and do something like, what was that all about? And I guess my wild brain just And you know what it is too. I think it's a real defense mechanism too, right? The wild brain.
Right there. That's so everything we do in life, really, when you get down to it, it's just survival instinct. Even reproduction, it's all survival instinct. Eating, sleeping, all that, and survival instincts, such as if you and I are talking right now, a loud boom went off. What are we both going to do? We're both going to do that. You can't stop it. You cannot stop it.
Yeah.
That's thousands and thousands of years of evolution and DNA. So when you hear a loud explosion, you're going to squat and you're going to look to see where it came from.
Right.
And that also comes into play when you teach certain things. But so there, then there's also response. I forget the particular term for it now, but so when you're training, so in other words, when I put my hand, so if this is where are we? This is a flame. I put my hand there. It's going to pull back. I don't think about that. I feel the heat. I pull back. That's a train. I'm sorry. It's called the trained response, because a few times you burn yourself, then you say that's not happening again. Right. It's a trained response, and that's another function of athletics and also survival skills.
A lot of it, it's a fear too. Like you don't want to burn your hand, or if you get into a fight right away, it's because get into a fight right away. It's like you're fearing. Like I remember for me, if I got in a fight, like I'd just be gone. Like the guys I really admired was that they could really think. Well, you could probably do this because you're training, but they can really think their way through a fight. I just snap, throw as many punches as I possibly can, and that's it.
And you're you're more dangerous to fight as a trained fighter because you're asymmetrical. You're not predictable. When I go into a ring and I'm fighting a fighter, I know he's going to have a left hand jab. I've seen it a bazillion times. I know he's going to do. I know that. When I go in the gym, you can make a pro fighter look like crap. Just go in there and be a wild man.
Right.
It's very difficult to react to because you're not. You've had rules. You've had even rules of engagement that are subliminal. In other words, this is what we do. We jab, we throw crosses, we hooks. You start going in like this and throwing. It's very difficult.
So why don't more boxers go in a little wild like that then?
Some have in the past, but the difference is there is, without getting too technical, on a wild guy, you want to move inside so his arms out here and then work him up the middle.
Cool. Wow. What would Larry Melnick do? I don't think he uses frontal cortex at all. Larry Melnick, I think he's got the wild brain.
Is it the PBR?
Yeah. All right. What did Nick Fatia? No, Nick really didn't give me tips. Like the fighters nowadays, or I should say, the fighters, I don't think train that way now. But that period of time there, like Colton Orr was playing. Yeah. They really studied the fight and they watched films and knew what they were doing. We didn't really. It was, again, most guys, we knew if a guy was a lefty or a righty. Yeah. Grab the elbow, just throw. So hopefully you grab at his elbow and he can't throw punches. But yeah, I look back at the old fights. It was just like, keep throwing them till you can't throw anymore. Yeah, it's barbaric.
I think hockey fighting is so unique because first of all, you're on skates.
Yeah.
So I could take literally a heavyweight champion of the world now, put him on skates. And an 8-year-old Mike can knock him on his ass. Yeah. I'm sorry. But you understand what I'm saying. So to fight on skates, unless anybody's done it, it's a different experience. I mean, you get gassed like in 30 seconds or less.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're beat.
It's not easy.
Oh, and speaking of the kid knocking somebody on the rear end, you seen that commercial with Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. So people haven't seen it. It's on NHL Network a lot of the games. So Hedman is standing there. He's got his infant child on one of those chest things. He's carried him, and he's standing by Steven Stamkos. So they're outside the rink, or they're in the rink, but looking into the rink. And Stamkos' little son looked like he's 5 years old, runs some big kid that's twice his size into the boards and knocks him down. And they're talking about it's for MetLife Insurance or something like that.
I believe it is. Yeah.
They're talking about how, as he gets like Stamkos asked Hedman, "Have you got your child on ice yet?" And Hedman kind of looks at him like, "No, not yet." This is when the little boy, Stamkos' boy, knocks the other guy down. Stamkos looks at him and says, "Well, you better save for college." That's what it was. Yes. It's classic. Oh.
It's a very good commercial. It's true.
Yeah, it's good. That was funny stuff. Who's your pick? I haven't been watching. Who's your pick for winner of Survivor? I haven't been watching Survivor, to be very honest with you. Survivor is one of those. A lot of the people that are on Survivor were lifelong fans and love the game and knew all the players. I mean, I loved playing. It was fantastic. I'd play again in a heartbeat. It's just I wasn't really. I enjoy watching the show, but I wasn't like really into it. A lot of those people. Some of them would. They'd study all the players. I didn't really think my frontal cortex was maybe.
What you did there, you just relied on your wild brain. Well, I'm going to do what I've been doing all along. If it works, it works. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's interesting you say that, because they actually asked me the night I was getting voted off. It was a tribal council, and Probst, the host, asked me that. He said, Tom, have you ever tried to beg or something? And I said, nope. This is who I am. I'm going to stay the way I am, and they don't want me kind of thing. And I watched the show now, and he was like, wow, that's pretty confident statement, Tom. And I just, no, that's just the way I am. Yeah.
You again, that's exactly right. My friend, this is years ago, but he went, we had there were a bunch of amateurs fighting over in Europe, in Germany. And the guy, the USA guy got hurt. I don't know, he got cut or something. So they called my buddy Scott to fly over and replace him. And Scott went there. He was, I don't think he was even 18 yet. And the guy he was fighting had won the silver medal in the 72 Olympic Games. That was in his 30s, right? Nice. So most people would be like, you sure you want to take this fight? You want to go in there? I mean, whatever. But when Scott was getting his hands wrapped, he looked at Joe Greer, his trainer, and said, "You're not stopping me." He looked at the other guy, "You're not stopping me." And he had made the decision, I'm not going to allow you guys to jam with my frontal cortex. Oh. Done, man. I'm going in there. I know what I'm doing.
Oh, so that's cool.
There's that part of it as well. And Joe Greer, who was my trainer, has trained many professionals and world champions, he'll tell you, out of all the fights he's been involved in, it was probably the best one. I mean, it was just at it. Yeah.
Right,
yeah, they both went at it, and it was a good fight.
So, okay, at 17 years old, and he does that. That's, I mean, how can he do, I don't say how, but that's pretty impressive for 17, for anybody to do that. But for 17-year-old.
I mean, part of that's internal. I mean, that's how he was raised and what his beliefs are. And also, I guess a big part of his preparation. That's another factor. If you're prepared, that means you've done your homework and it's in your wild part of your brain. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right? If you're not prepared, then you got to analyze it.
That's true, right? So if you prepare yourself, it's like I always say you've given yourself a license to be confident, is the way I put it. So it's the same thing. Like you prepared, and your brain knows that you're prepared, right? You can't kid your brain, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that it kind of aligns itself with everybody reacts different to some kind different types of stress. But for instance, if you're a fighter, you've put all the work in, and you're physically ready and you're mentally ready, you shouldn't really be that nervous before a fight. You should kind of look to get it going. I'm ready. Let's do this.
I guess that's the same thing. I remember for big games or something, if I really knew, if I'd done my homework, I'm feeling good about things, I've practiced hard. I remember saying that as an agent too. I had a player come to me. He said, "Well, I just don't have any confidence." I said, "Well, get out in the ice early before practice, stay after practice, work on your game, and you'll get more confidence." Yeah.
Well, it's I think again, I apologize if I told the story, but my son Sean was like 11 or 12. And at the end of the practice, we had 15 minutes. We said, "Hey, why don't we mix it, father-son game? Some of the fathers play with the kids." And Sean had a left-handed shot. I was coming down the side here, and he went to give me a backhand pass toward the net. So muffin kind of floating through the air, and I just tapped it out and went in. And one of the kids said, "Wow, that's really lucky." And one of the dads said, "No, it's not luck." And it really isn't, because you practice that time and time again. So you see it in the air, you don't even think, you just tap it in.
That was the thing with Gretzky, playing with Gretzky out in LA. When you play against him at first, especially when I was in New York, he was in Edmonton, different conferences, so we didn't play each other that long, that often. And he would do something during the game and say, "He's lucky. He's not that good." Yeah. But then you start playing with him, and he's doing it over and over and over. Well, he is that good.
Well, I'll tell you two quick stories. So I forget what year it was, but they had the PGA, the senior tournament, whatever it was. The big one was here in Ridgewood. It's a long time ago, and I went there. And Lee Trevino, I don't know if you remember Lee Trevino, he won this tournament. As soon as he won, Tom literally basically walked off the 18th green, went straight to the practice range. Even though he won, there was something he didn't feel right about, and he stayed on that until it got dark, and then he had to hop on a flight. And it's the same thing. Brian Leach called me up in the summer when I was in New York. He said, I have a new pair of skates. I need to break them in. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to be up there anyhow. So it was in the summer, and he went in the corner, Tom, and did his thing by himself for about a half hour, 45 minutes. And I just stood there watching him.
That's why it's Brian Leach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's true, too, because my game more like, I remember killing penalties all the time. One of the things I was not very confident at was backhanding the puck out of our zone high up in the air.
Right.
And I remember going out in practice, getting the bucket of pucks and just backhand about like 200 pucks. Everybody's looking at me, okay, so people that have skills they practice, like scoring goals, you're dumping the puck out of the zone. I said, well, yeah, that's what I.
Well, that's creating that myelination.
Yeah.
So you see the threat. In this case, it's somebody coming in hard on you,
Right.
and you got to get it out. And you're on your backhand. You don't have time to draw it to your forehand.
Yeah.
So there it goes.
Yeah.
But if you've done it enough, it goes right to the wild brain and goes.
Yeah.
Robbie
Yeah.
Ftork, kid Darren Van Imp, I don't know if you remember him. He played a bit.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that when he got traded to Boston, Robbie called him up in the office and said, "Hey, welcome to the team, blah, blah, blah." And, kind of caught the kid off guard. He says, "How's your, you coming out of your zone on your backhand? Do you force it to your forehand?" He said, "Yeah, if I can." Yeah. He goes, "No, get a buddy, $200 a day, backhand passes."
Yeah.
And this guy is in the NHL. I was telling him this.
No, Ron, I practiced so I could get it up. Okay. Mr. Funny Guy. Yeah. Couldn't get it up. This is a very interesting conversation today. I like this, talking about how the brain works and training and all. Obviously, okay, the more you train, the more you can be good at something, but you put it all into context of how it actually works inside the brain. Man, how do you know all this stuff?
Wasted youth.
No.
So the thing is too, like with this whole frontal cortex, you can, if you sit back and analyze it, you can look at the parts of the day you're using your frontal cortex and the parts that you're not.
Right.
So when you're driving a car, there's a lot of frontal cortex because you're analyzing who's coming up on your left, who's coming up, who's behind you, and who's changing lanes, and all that kind of stuff. And that's part of that OODA loop. It's a pretty common term now. It means observe, orient, decide, act. So you look, you see the car, you decide I'm going to go to that lane, you do it. So it's a pretty simplistic way to look at it, but it really gets involved in a lot of parts of our life, that OODA loop. But yeah, if you sit back, you can think of the parts of the day, like when you're taking a shower, you're not thinking, okay, take the soap bar, but you're thinking about something else maybe, but your wild part of your brain's watching. Maybe that's not a great example, but you get the point.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay, Mr. Barry Shelley, I'll answer this question. I read that Bobby Orr used to soak his skates in water and put them in the skate room. Yes. So now the skates back then were the old leather skates. Yeah. So the skates now, they don't have to do that. They can take them right out of the box and play with them. There's no leather at all in the skates now, are there? There's no.
Nah, they're all some kind of composite or plastic or something.
I haven't bought a new pair of skates in a long time. My skates must be 25 years old.
Yeah, mine are getting there. But, for the amount of skating I do, they're going to work just fine.
My toes, I go to the beach now. I have to put a blanket over my toes. Because I skated all those years with no socks on or anything. My toes are a mess.
Oh. Yeah, my feet are pretty ugly. Yeah. There's a woman that used to be in the gym, Carmen. She was awesome. She took care of all the kids, inner city kids. So she'd bring them food. And she was a fighter. She was pretty bad. And one day I walked in with flip-flops on. She looks at me. She goes, "What do you got, a yeast infection?" Like she just didn't want to. She said, "You got to put shoes on here, man. You can't."
So, that's funny. Yeah. That's funny. All right, brother. Good to see you. Very informative talk today. Thank you very much. You intelligent son of a gun, you. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
See you, buddy.